The NHL regular season is officially done. Let the playoffs begin. Well, hold off on that thought for a moment, or at least for a couple of months. While the NHL finally announced its plan on returning to play, which includes a 24-team postseason, a play-in qualifying round, a round robin to determine the top 4 seeds in the conference, and possibly a best-of-5 series for the first 2 rounds, it won't actually begin until sometime after July 1. Before that, there will be an entry draft, 2 of them perhaps. But if all goes according to plan, meaning the coronavirus simmers down to the point where it's safe for hockey players to temporarily locate in 2 hub cities for weeks at a time, and the Stanley Cup could be awarded in September. Here are some of the details. The top 4 seeds in each conference, Boston, Tampa Bay, Washington, and Philadelphia in the East, and St. Louis, Colorado, Vegas, and Dallas in the West, will get a bye to the first round, but they won't be idle. Instead, they will play a round-robin tournament to determine who is seeded where. The Boston Bruins, which led the league with 100 points in the regular season, was paused on March 12th, loses all of its games, and they could be the 4th seed. Conversely, the Dallas Stars, which finished with 12 fewer points than the St. Louis Blues, could be the top seed if they run the table. While this is going on, the 16 bubble teams will face off in a qualifying play-in round. Toronto will play Columbus, Montreal will play Pittsburgh, Edmonton will play Chicago, Vancouver will play Minnesota, and Calgary will play Winnipeg. The winner of these best-of-5 series will advance to what will then be known as the first round of the playoffs. Still with us? Okay, the first 2 rounds may or may not be a best-of-7 series. If time is of the essence, they could be a best-of-5. From there, it's business as usual. Well, as usual as playing games in an empty rink in 2 hub cities could be considered usual. Right now, there's 10 cities vying for the chance to play host. Chicago, Columbus, Dallas, Edmonton, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Toronto, and Vancouver. The NHL hopes to decide on the 2 hosts in the next month or so. As for the draft, it's going to be held on June 26th. It's the same as always, except that if one of the teams in the qualifying play-in round wins either the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd overall pick, the NHL will have a redraft before the conference final. This avoids a scenario where a team, such as the Canadiens, wins one of the top 3 picks and then goes on to win the Cup. There's a lot still to be worked out. Will Canada relax its requirements on players crossing the border to be quarantined for 14 days? Will there be enough tests on site to keep players safe? What happens if there's a positive test or an outbreak? But the biggest question is whether or not our world will be safe enough to play hockey, much less congregate in a park together a month or 2 from now. No one knows, but at least the NHL has a plan for if we get there. For Post Media News, I am Michael Tragos.